Alright y'all, sit back, kick it, vibe with me for a minute. Tomorrow makes 2 months that NBA 2K23 has been released. And from the very beginning, Mike Wang pledged that he will not be touching gameplay. And I don't know how true that is because gameplay does feel different. Y'all sound off in the comment section below if you agree with gameplay being just a little bit different. Something seems a little goofy, a little off. 2K23 currently on track to break yet another sales record. I was watching the homie Brutal Sims video and he had an article where 5 million copies were sold, if I'm not mistaken, and there's 2 million daily active users. And those are huge numbers in comparison to, like, say, the last 2 years. So do those sales numbers and do those player counts mean that it's actually a good experience when you get on 2K23? And we're not solely talking about the comp community. We're talking about just your average consumer, your average player getting on the game. I think they feel overall that the game is a good experience. Have you guys ever heard of the honeymoon phase? I believe a lot of players are still in that honeymoon phase with 2K. A good amount of players started with one player and then they had to make new players, so they're still in transition. I have personally made a multitude of players already gave 2K way too much of my money, personally contributing to those sales numbers. And I gotta say, over the last few days, I feel torn. I'm thinking, should I really be contributing to a game that consistently crashes the way 2K23 crashes? I mean, you get on the game, you go into your phone, and then everything just freezes, forcing you guys to close app. 2K23 is not an indie game. 2K23 has a huge backing. Not to mention that 2K23 represents the NBA. Should a AAA title be consistently crashing like this? Should a AAA title be crashing on next-gen consoles? I think there has to be some checks and balances, and I think there's a part where Sony needs to get involved. The 2K community is looking like one of the most patient communities in the gaming industry, because I know of other gaming communities that just wouldn't stand for this type of stuff. Crashing and loading up probably wouldn't seem like so much of a big deal if we didn't have to go through our daily routine of having to go through this checklist of checking our settings, who the guard is off, shot meter off, are our animations good, did our jump shot get reset, do we still have the same dunk packages on? I know I've mentioned this in quite a few videos and it still has yet to be rectified, and I would understand that more if gameplay didn't feel so different, which means that the developers are still heavily involved with what's going on in regards to gameplay, constantly getting updates, hot fixes, patches. I made the analogy last night. It's like walking into your favorite store, 2K being our favorite basketball game. You walk into your favorite store and the owner says, "Get on out." You're looking at the owner like, what the hell did I do? Well, that's how I feel when I get on 2K and the game crashes on me. I'm like, what, you don't want me to play your game, 2K? Is my money no good? Is it because I'm Puerto Rican? What is it? Let me know. And those are just the small issues plaguing 2K before you even start your game. Let's get into some gameplay issues that's going on. There's something really weird, and maybe, I don't know if anybody else has mentioned this, but there's something really weird going on with 2K. I think that they're limiting offense to make defense look good. And I'm not saying for a second that we can't be dominant players on the offensive end, but let's take, for instance, interior defense. I know a lot of you players are goated. You're like, hey man, my interior defense is second to none. And in my opinion, I think 2K has had a ton of issues with making interior defense feel effective. In your opinion, how would you reward good interior defense? Let's say somebody goes up for a drive and you make an absolutely amazing defensive stop and an absolutely great contest. Don't you guys think that you should be rewarded with the ball? I'm referring to the 50-50 ball. For some reason, the offensive player just manages to glitch to the rock and get the ball right back. We've noticed the same thing happening with steals and tip passes as well. It's like the defense has to work extra hard just to get rewarded. I know a lot of you guys may not agree with that statement, but after hearing it, maybe when you get into a game, you'll start noticing these type of situations, because we've been heavily noticing this stuff. In my opinion, if you're in the passing lane and you get a good tip pass, the defense should be rewarded because the offense made the poor pass. In my opinion, if you're in the paint and you get an absolutely amazing contest, then the defense should be rewarded with glitching to the rock over the offense. That's just my personal opinion. If offensive players continue to drive against 2 or 3 players, I believe 2K needs to recognize that that was a poor decision by the person or player driving into the paint against 2 or 3 players. You cannot reward that offensive player with a foul, or if the ball gets contested, allowing that same player to recover when he is the one sole player on offense recovering the rock surrounded by 3 defenders. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because these things weren't nearly as prevalent in previous versions of 2K, but ironically, this is the year where 2K wanted to amp up defense. So maybe on a one-on-one drive or a one-on-one, like an offensive player attempting to take a perimeter shot, it'd be more difficult for the offense. But outside of that, I think 2K is adjusting these sliders so that they can make the offense feel validated in a certain way because of the difficulties that they have in creating their shot. And hopefully I didn't confuse you guys with seemingly contradicting statements. I think 2K limited offense per se in regards to creating an open shot, something that we've been used to for years now. Point guards always able to create their shots. In 2K23, it's not nearly as easy to make that happen. So 2K says, let me adjust the slider so that 50-50 loose balls end up going right back to the offense. That's what I'm referring to there. And there's quite a few player inconsistencies that I'm noticing out there. We noticed the player yesterday have like an 80 steal attribute. He was something like a brand new player. He was an 86 overall, 2K sneakers and all. But man, I tell you, he was getting these crazy superhero steal animations. We checked this player card after and it was not even close to nearly maxed out. It was a 6'5 player on top of that. And a lot of people in the 2K community will say that the 6'6 lock and the 6'7 locks are the primary locks, the go-to lock builds for 2K23. But this 6'5 player was getting these superhero put on your cape type of animations that we was just like, what type of player is he? He is absolutely everywhere. We ended up smashing that team, but I'm just saying, we noticed these inconsistencies when we got lockdowns out there with 99 steal and Hall of Fame interceptor, and this dude at 6'5 don't have no interceptor on, and we're looking at him like, what is going on? It was obviously a new player brought out to the rec center. And that led to this ongoing theory that I have personally in my experience playing 2K. There's something really weird that happens with certain player builds. When you bring them out from like the very beginning, I'm somebody who likes to bring out my players brand new, bring them out to the rec center, get them up to like 90 or something like that, and then bring them out to the rec center to get my badges and stuff. I noticed that I get the most convenient animations within the first week of bringing my player out, so much so that you're thinking, hey, if he's playing like this now with very limited badges and I still need a ton more attributes to max the player out, imagine how he's gonna play when I max him out. Hold that thought 1 second. Let's revert back to 2K sales, as 2K23 is on course for setting another sales record. Would you guys agree that it would be like your natural thought process to think, if he's playing like this when I first bring him out with very little badges and not nearly as many attributes, don't you think that when he's maxed out, he's gonna play absolutely amazing? What if I tell you guys I've done this a number of times, and I feel like when my player gets maxed out, his abilities don't seem to progress forward. If anything, I think they digress. Maybe it's just in my head. Is that a possibility? It just could be in my head. Maybe my expectations are just set too high. But this is why I save a lot of my clips and I go back and review my clips. And I don't just base this comparison from like one clip. I review hundreds of clips to see what my player was doing when I first brought him out versus what he's doing now that he's maxed out. And hands down, it never fails. My player is not nearly as good when he's maxed out versus when I first brought him out. Please don't let this video hold you. If you're not having the same type of experience I'm having, please continue to enjoy the game. I definitely don't want to sour or ruin anybody's experience on 2K23. But if you are in agreement, definitely sound off in the comments section, because I think this is something that needs to be known, and there needs to be some checks and balance, because if there's some weirdness going on, some shady type of business to kind of like incline us to make more builds or purchase more VC. I think people need to know about this. After 2 months in playing 2K23, would you still align it as one of the best 2Ks ever released? Again, Mike Wang saying there were absolutely no gameplay changes. I personally beg to differ. The game plays and feels very different than it was prior to the ton of patches we received. I'm definitely still gonna be playing 2K23. This type of stuff is not gonna stop me. I have my priorities in order. I definitely gotta stay connected with y'all. But in order to maintain that connection, I gotta share my trials and tribulations, my struggles and joys with you guys. I believe it's up to us, the 2K community, to hold 2K accountable for our experience playing the game. When a game consistently crashes or freezes on you, that should be considered completely unacceptable. And there's a daily routine for us patient 2K players. Are you guys really that patient? If we as 2K players are forced to put our best foot forward if we want to compete on 2K23, then 2K should definitely be putting their best foot forward as a AAA title, leading the way. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Keep it locked right here at AllCity Live TV for more NBA 2K23 news, information, and updates. Drop a like and drop a sub on your way out. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Easy, y'all.